Hi, I'm Dejan. You probably know the piece, however on a completely different instrument. This was beginning of the second movement of Brahms Violin Concerto. Concerto that I just very recently completed my arrangement. Took me 6 years, and for several reasons I embarked on a project like that. My source of inspiration was a joint one. I was inspired by Bach and Beethoven, who both arranged their violin concertos as piano concertos. And one should know that Brahms' Violin Concerto had its roots in both friendship and practicality. Brahms wrote it for his dear and close friend Joseph Joachim, and this particular violin concerto was the first instrumental concerto I've ever heard, even before any piano concertos.
About a year and a half ago, I heard Dejan warming up in his dressing room, playing the Brahms Violin Concerto, and I was so shocked and astounded that I asked him what was he doing, and he said he'd been working on a transcription of the Brahms Violin Concerto. I was so excited by this idea because, for one thing, what he was playing sounded fantastic and as if it had been written for the piano. And also just the very notion of a transcription is such an important part of a great tradition. Beethoven's own transcription of his violin concerto, the Bach transcriptions of his violin concertos for the keyboard. It's almost a kind of recomposition that Dejan has created with this version of the Brahms Violin Concerto, and it's actually provides quite wonderful new perspective on the piece.
Of course, there's this eternal question, is one allowed to do something like this? Knowing that Brahms lived in a time where arrangements and transcriptions were more than allowed, welcomed with every, not only productive but also reproductive artist, I think the answer is yes, and that Brahms himself would definitely not have anything against this idea. Furthermore, Brahms did not leave any cadenza, original cadenza behind him. I think this is also a very important issue. Violinists like Heifetz and many others, Kreisler, Joachim, of course, they did their own cadenzas. So I thought arranging those cadenzas for piano would just not be the right idea because they're so violinistic. And I therefore wrote an original cadenza that just is actually portraying and mirroring some of the possibilities one has as a pianist, one doesn't have as a violinist. Of course, violinists can vibrate, can do many other things, and there's always a question, how do you solve these problems? And I have several examples for you just to show what kind of technique I used. I always try to imagine what Brahms would have done with particular subject or passage. And of course, I integrated Rachmaninoff and Liszt techniques, Chopin technique as well, into this. So in the entire 19th century, piano technique plays a significant role for this project. So let's take into account the first subject of first movement. Violinist would play. Going to the down register. And so on. So as a pianist, of course, you should know that this section starts with violas accompanying violin, meaning we have low D in the bass, and we have middle register violas and high up violinist. So one should not infiltrate the score in a way where you put too much of the middle register in a piano. So what can you do? You should think of some of the Brahms piano pieces, 117, 118, 119 opus, and be inspired by these, how he did it. So I came up with this solution. Going down. Now with this part, of course, this is completely new and fresh part. I wanted to integrate triplets in the left hand. So we have this pace change much more noticeable. So I have the violin part, but of course the way how Brahms would have composed himself also plays a major role if we think of piano piece 118, number 2. And so on. We have pretty much a similar language. So it is not off taste, so to speak. It is still in Brahms' manner. It is still the same music. And it sounds just so much like Brahms' Piano Concerto No. 3. Then, of course, there's this evergreen, the second subject of the first movement. And so on. So I arrange this in this way. Or the very rhapsodic piece of music coming just after this, where we are very often reminded by Brahms's 2 Rhapsodies in B minor, number 1 especially. I'll just play a little bit of that. So we have this bit. Of course, this concerto being now Piano Concerto No. 3, I'd like also to address the issues like performing practice aesthetics, tempo and rubato, which play a significant role, and of course this music being performed as a violin concerto for 130 years now exactly. When one plays it for the first time as a piano concerto, there are a few things that change, and in this example, beginning of the second movement, tempo and rubato play a significant role, especially knowing that original tempo marks by Joachim in all three movements were definitely faster than what modern violinists take nowadays. Let me just play the beginning of second movement for you. This is, of course, a subject, a theme that I've been playing on my own and for myself for several years, and I hope you can understand. This is, of course, one of the most inspiring tunes ever written. Of course, it is a very subjective thing to say, but definitely it means a lot to me. I hope this whole project is not going to be considered as provocation or musical vandalism. As said, I did it utterly out of respect and admiration and out of artistic necessity, and considering that Brahms loved transcriptions and arrangements himself, I don't think he'd have anything against the idea.
I think musically, some of the decision-making is different as appropriate to the possibilities of the instrument. As Dejan was saying, the violin can do certain things and the piano can do certain other things. But apart from that, and sometimes the orchestra can play out a bit more than with the violin, just in terms of balance issues. But apart from that, I think the orchestra's experience of the piece is very much still the Brahms Violin Concerto. As we've been playing so much new music and commissioning, this orchestra is tremendously flexible and very interested and open, and they really contribute to the process of creation. And in many ways, this is the world premiere of Brahms' Third Piano Concerto. So it's been great how they've participated in making the adjustments that are there to be made to support Dejan's playing of the piece and his invention of the piece, because it's not just his performance actually, but it's the myriad decisions he had to make about how to flesh out that one violin line into truly pianistic writing.
And I certainly do hope that from now on one can enjoy this wonderful music in this arrangement, just as violinists were enjoying it for the past 130 years.